Woman of Reddit, what is your, I am the client not my husband, stop ignoring me story? My scenario doesn't quite fit the bill, but I'm a female business owner with a male business partner. I've had a few customers born in the dark ages and reps that asked to speak to my boss, but the worst was a guy who snapped his fingers and told me to put the kettle on girly. Needless to say, he didn't get his cuppa and he certainly didn't get the discount he asked for. I'm a guy, but if I saw something like that, I'd tack on an asshole tax as a line item. So a while back my wife and I were hitting up local dealerships trying to find a replacement car for her 2006 Nissan Subcompact. The first thing I would tell each salesman was that we were shopping around for a daily for her to drive. Honda dealership was stereotypical car salesman, we can't even let her take a test drive unless she shows intent to buy. Ford dealership ignored her completely and tried to sell me a Mustang. Toyota was like, oh, you must want to look at our insert soccer mom vehicle here. But when we got to Mazda, I told the sales guy the same thing, that we were looking for her next car, and he immediately nodded, turned to her and asked, what do you look for in a car? And then he just listened to her. He didn't ask me anything for the rest of the time we were there, focused entirely on her and answering her questions. Never rushed her or pushed her towards a different model. So yeah, we'll probably be getting her a Soul Red Mazda 3 cause of that guy. We wanted a fence around our house. I have always worked from home, and my husband has always worked in a field where he cannot take time to meet with contractors, etc. He and I agree on terms up front and then I make decisions from there. It doesn't matter in life, but for this story it does. I make more than my husband. We had already agreed on this company based on various factors. A man came over to give an estimate during a work day, which ended up being less than we expected to pay. I was ready to sign the papers and he said, I'd rather talk to your husband about the numbers and get his signature since he will be the one paying for it. I asked him to leave my property and never come back. I also recently went to buy a car during a work day. My husband's car broke down and he was in the middle of a tow. It was a nightmare, and he needed a car ASAP. We had been saving for a replacement, but weren't expecting to need it for another year. We had the cash to buy the car he wanted full out. I went to the dealership with the specs, etc. to just get the deal done quick. He asked me if I could come back later in the day with my husband so they could talk man to man about the deal. I let him know he just lost a cash deal. I drove 30 minutes to a sister dealership and made the purchase there. I told the new salesman about my experience at the previous dealership and he said he knew the guy and he was going to rub it in his face at the next regional meeting. Husband and I took my daughter to urgent care for stitches. Husband is holding the kid, and I check her in at the front desk iPad. Front desk man looks to my husband and asks for the insurance card. We're on my insurance, so I hand him the card. Next he tells my husband the copay, looking at him, behind me, when I'm the one standing at the damn desk. I pull out my card with my name on it, and pay. As *whole. Took my boyfriend to a very expensive birthday dinner in DC and made sure he got the best wine that night. The total came to about $400 just for the two of us. I made the initial reservation so our notes stated that I would be treating. Having come from working at a high-end restaurant, I'm familiar with proper service steps. The first strike was when I ordered the wine for us and the server gave the bottle to my boyfriend to approve and taste without giving me the option. Second strike was although I clearly said I was treating, they placed the check in front of my boyfriend, on his birthday. Finally straw was the manager coming over to introduce himself to my boyfriend. Handshake, banter, the works, without acknowledging me. Happened a second time at the end of the meal. 2 manager visits. And I was the one trying to provide the experience and bankroll the night. They definitely heard about it. I'm not a woman, but I witnessed this scenario. I've posted it on Reddit before, but here it is again. A little more than a decade ago I, male, was at a party with a few friends and a whole bunch of strangers. I got into a conversation with another guy about our work. He was a programmer and I was a physicist, and at some point we started talking about quantum computing. He asked me a whole bunch of questions to which I gave answers, but my subfield was not quantum information. Fortunately, my friend came to the party with me, and she was also a physicist, and specifically a quantum computing specialist. As soon as I saw her cross my field of vision, I waved her over, thinking she'd both appreciate the conversation and be able to contribute a whole lot more than I could. Y'all. Even after I introduce her as a fellow physicist and quantum computing expert, the guy kept asking me questions. And I kept being like, I honestly have no clue, friend, you're the expert, what's going on there? And like, I deflected 3 or 4 questions that way before I think he got the hint that maybe he's addressing the wrong person. He changes his conversation strategy so that instead of asking me about QIS, he starts trying to show off, to her, what he knows about it. Like, in his brain this flipped from an opportunity to learn more about quantum computers to an opportunity to get laid, showing off what little he knows about the subject. So he's mansplain flirting quantum information science to a woman who had literally built and programmed what was, at the time, one of the world's only functioning multi-qubit quantum computers. I wish I could say I watched her die a little inside, but apparently this was so common a kind of occurrence that she was inured to it, and just laughed and went to get another beer.